Today we're going to be talking about how to get 100 grand per month in real estate commissions. I teach 7 different ways to get to $100,000 per month. Commissions is the second hardest of the 7, but it's the main thing that most real estate agents do, so that's what we're going to get into. If you're new to the channel, my name is Devin Niemer. I've sold over $2 billion worth of real estate. I've been in business for over 20 years. I've helped thousands of real estate agents through my marketing company, but now I'm offering coaching services for real estate agents that really want to take it to the next level, and what I mean by the next level is $100,000 per month. That is doable when you have the right systems and procedures and the right mindset, and you're doing a combination of things. I have interviewed thousands, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 realtors for my marketing company. And I've always been curious to know how they get their business, where do they get their business from, all of these things. To me, it's important because what I did as a marketing company was I helped agents get more business. So I wanted to know, how are you getting your business? So one of the things I started doing is every single time I had an agent that told me they were from Keller Williams, I would ask them, are you doing the 33 Touch campaign? And 90% of them told me some version of, I'm doing a little bit, I know I'm not doing as much as I should, some version of I'm trying, or some straight up said they're not even doing it at all. But 90% are not doing it the way that they're being taught to do it. Then about 10% said, yes, I'm doing it. And at first, I just sort of noted that. And then I started saying, you know what? I'm going to test to see, are they getting the results that the book claims? And when I say the book, I mean The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by Gary Keller. When I joined Keller Williams in 2005, so 20 years ago from when I'm filming this, I got that book for free from the broker. That was part of how they recruited me in, is they gave me the book. So I read through the book and I'm like, oh man, this is for me. I'm going to be the Keller Williams agent. And so I just want to give credit where credit's due. Everything in that book is incredible. If you haven't read the book, you should read the book. It is incredible. Today in this video, we're going to be going over a detailed step-by-step system that does better than, in my opinion, what the book is, because I've had 20 years of experience to make it better. But that is a good foundation, good baseline. I highly recommend the book for any real estate agent out there, especially if you're new, right? But even if you're experienced, I've probably read it a dozen times. And the 10th time I read it, I still picked up insights, right? So there's still things you're going to pick up on no matter how experienced you are as an agent. So going back to interviewing thousands of real estate agents, when they told me they're from Keller Williams, I would ask them, are they doing the 33 Touch? Then I asked the follow-up question. The book says for every 12 people who know and trust you, and they have to own a home, there's a few other caveats, but for every 12 people in your sphere, you can expect 1 sale and 1 referral. To my surprise, every single person, 100%, that told me, yes, I'm doing the 33 Touch campaign, 100% of them told me, yes, I'm getting those results. And so for a while, I just paid attention to that, but then eventually I said, you know what? Maybe they're lying to me. Let me actually ask them. And so I started going further and I said, okay, let me break that down. How many sales did you get from your sphere? And they'd give me a number. And I'd say, okay, and how many people are in your sphere? And they'd give me the number. And it was 12 and 2. So let me break that down for you, because this is really important if you want to get to $100,000 a month. And actually, even before I do that, I will tell you, out of the thousands of agents that we've worked with, right? I've interviewed maybe as many as 10,000 that I've talked to over the phone, but we've worked with thousands. And when we work with them, we get access to their CRM. And in their CRM, we can see the source of every single lead that ever closed. And what we found is you might have some agents that are selling 2, 4, 5 homes a year. We really didn't work with that many of those types of agents. And so for them, yeah, a lot of it came from us, quite frankly. I had a guy, I'll just give one quick example, based out of Orlando, Florida, shout out to Tim. I think he sold 4 homes ever before he started working with us, and then we gave him about 20 sales a year, right? So we were by far the majority of his business, but he's an outlier, right? The majority of the agents that I worked with are already successful. So I said, okay, if they're already successful, where are they getting the success from? Where is it coming from? every single agent, 100% of them, had a minimum of 80% of their business coming from their sphere. Minimum 80% coming from their sphere. Take out the outliers like Tim in Orlando I just mentioned, but you take the people that are already successful and we're coming in as a catalyst to help them, their starting point before we start helping them, where are they getting all of their existing business? I didn't find a single agent that meets that criteria that had less than 80% coming from their sphere. This is why it's super, super important, okay? So let's break down the numbers. I said 12 and 2. What does that mean, okay? So for every 12 people, I'm going to go PL for people, okay? For every 12 people, you get 1 sale and 1 referral, okay? So how does this scale up? Because that's what's important. If you're going to get to 100 grand a month, not in a year, in a month, 99.99% of agents are never going to get to 100 grand a month. But if you were to get to 100 grand a month, how would you do it in commissions? Okay? So let's look at this. From 12 people, 1 sale, 1 referral, you can look at that as 1 in 6. Okay? So we go, let's just start by adding a 0. Okay? 120 people equals 20 sales. Okay? 120 people, 20 sales. Now, that is not 100 grand a month unless you're selling ultra luxury properties. Okay? We'll break down how you get to 100 grand a month soon, but that's not gonna do it. You need a lot more than that. Okay? So let's scale up further. And you go to 300 people equals 50 sales. Okay? Now, I'll tell you, if your average commission's 25 grand, this will do it. This will get you to 100 grand a month if the commission's 25 grand. But it's probably half that. So we got to go up 1 more, doubling it. That gives us 600 people, 100 sales. Okay? So you need 600 people in your sphere of influence in order to get to 100 sales. Now you are starting to understand why I said it's the second hardest way I teach to get to 100 grand a month. But for most real estate agents, this is the only thing they're doing. They're not doing the other 6 things. But if you're going to get there through lowest hanging fruit, keep in mind, my marketing company calls expireds for sale by owners, circle prospecting, we go after internet leads, and there's a lot of varieties of internet leads. So there's the fast cash offer, there's the what's my home worth, we got buyer leads. We have so much that we do in that marketing company and we track everything. It's substantially more expensive both in your time and effort and like actual hard cost to go after cold versus warm. It's roughly 1 in 7 times more expensive to go after cold than it is to go after warm, okay? So if you want to get to 100 grand a month and keep most of that 100 grand a month, your sphere is really the key. That's really the way to go, okay? Now, 600 people, what does that take in order to do that? 33 touches minimum, and I would argue more because that book was written 20 years ago and there's a lot more competition, there's a lot more things going on. I'd argue you need more than 33 touches. So let's say 40 touches. 40 touches times 600 people is 24,000 touches. Think about that for a second. 24,000 touches to these 600 people to get to 100 sales. Now, some of that is postcards, emails, advertising, things like that. But a lot of it is phone calls, in-person meetings. You're starting to see that this is almost an impossible task. It almost is. And then keep in mind, that's only if you spent all of your time doing this. But if you were to actually sell 100 homes, you have offers, you have listing appointments, you have just the act of being an agent on 100 sales is so much time and effort and everything. You're not going to have time to do this. So that's the problem. How do we actually get to 100 commissions? Right here. This is manageable. The problem is that you would need 5 times the results in order to equal that. So there's 2 ways to do it. If the average commission in here is $12,500, you can do times 5. Now you're looking at an average commission of $62,500, but that's not realistic. You might have some high-end luxury homes, fine, but an average commission of $62,000 is hard, okay? So how do you do this where you get 5 times the results? Let's erase the board and I'll go into it. Okay, so we already covered the goal is 120 people to get to 100 sales, which is 5 times more than what is taught by Keller Williams. How do you hit that? The first thing you have to understand is you have something called the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says 20% of your effort produces 80% of your results. So how do we get 5 times the results? The first thing is you have to understand the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says 80% of your effort is only going to get you 20% of the results, while 20% of the effort is going to get you to 80% of the results. You need to find a way to figure out who is your top 20%. Now, the 20% could be that they give you a lot of referrals, and that would be great, but more important than the referrals is the amount of volume of business that you do with them. And when you're doing business the way I teach how to do business, you're not dealing with people who are buying one home every 5 to 7 years, which is what the Millionaire Real Estate Agents taught on. That is based on average homeowners who are going to live in their home and not investors. If you start working with investors and you're working with them on property after property after property, they're not moving every 5 to 7 years. They're buying multiple homes per year. They're making referrals to other investors who want to buy multiple homes per year. That's how you do it. You don't focus on the guy who's going to sell once every 7 years, and maybe he hires you as the agent, or maybe he doesn't, and you spend all of this marketing material, all of this time and effort and everything on that. Could be a waste of time. You want the people who are going to be your movers and shakers. You got to focus on the top 20% that are going to give you a lot of business. So these are the real estate investors. Now, how do you take a regular homeowner and turn them into an investor? You go to your Sphere, you go to your past clients, and you run a CMA on their home that they bought with you years ago. They bought it for, let's say, $300,000. Okay, and when they did, they put 20% down, let's say. So now they owe $240,000. But now the home is worth more. Let's say that it's worth $450,000, 50% more. And who cares how long it's been, right? Maybe that took 2 years because the market was crazy. Maybe that took 10 years because the market's been really slow. It doesn't matter. Some time has passed since you sold them that home. It's now worth more, okay? And the numbers, I'm just picking median middle America home prices so that it's relatable, but you can scale this up, especially if you're in places like California. You're not finding a $300,000 home anywhere. And I'm talking condos, like even the places like in the ghetto that you don't want to live, like you're not finding anything for $300,000, right? So you can scale these numbers up or down. The percentage is what's important, okay? So let's go. It's now worth $450,000 because that's 50% more, okay? And that's what it's worth, but what do they owe? They owed the $240,000, but now they owe, let's say, because it's been a few years, maybe now they owe $180,000, okay? So I'm going to do minus $180,000, and that gives you how much equity is left. So you take this, and I'm just going to use a calculator to make sure I don't say the wrong numbers in my head, okay? So now they have $270,000 worth of equity, okay? But we can't get 100% of it. So 20% of it leaving it in, which actually you can. If you do a home equity line of credit, you can go up to 100%, but now you're paying more like 11, 12% in interest, and it becomes less desirable. So we'll stick with just the 80% mark, okay? So 20% of $450,000 I can do in my head, that's $90,000. So we subtract this out, okay? Now this homeowner has $180,000 that they can pull out to do an investment. Now, with that investment, you're going to teach them something called the BRRRR method. What is the BRRRR method? Let me write that down. The BRRRR method, B-R-R-R-R, stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So, they have 180 grand that they can take out. They don't need to use all 180 grand as their down payment. So they're going to take out enough for the down payment, and then what's left over is the rehab cost. This is a healthy budget to do one of these BRRRR deals with, okay? So now you help them buy a property. There's one commission. Then they rehab the property. You refer them to a contractor, and ideally, this contractor should be reciprocal in referring you business, right? This should be part of the process. They should be part of your 20% that's giving you a ton of business, okay? And then they rent it out, which maybe you're doing property management. That's a whole other thing to talk about. But you could be doing property management and collecting a portion of that rent. Then they refinance, which means they pull cash out, and they repeat, meaning you go do that again with them. You don't want the person who's going to buy every 7 years. You want the person who's going to buy over and over again. This guy can do 2 per year until he's pulled out enough equity that he could now do 4 per year, and then 8 per year, and then 16 per year. And maybe he doesn't want to do all that. Maybe that's too much work. Fine. But you can keep him on the 2 per year. If the normal plan is once every 6 years, because it's 5 to 7, so we'll put it in the middle, and instead he's doing 2 per year, you're talking 12 times the transaction volume. I told you only need 5 times the transaction volume to hit the same number with 120 people in your sphere versus the 600 people in your sphere. That's impossible. But 120 people, you could make that happen, okay? So you get them on the BRRRR plan. Now, what else could you do? Maybe instead of the BRRRR plan, their plan is to buy it, rehab it, sell it. What does it mean if they sell it? We're talking fix and flip. If they sell it, now you just got another commission. So you got the commission on the purchase, you got a commission on the sale, right? So over here, instead of rent, they sell it. So they don't refi and repeat. They do repeat, but they don't refinance it. They sell it instead of refinancing it, and they don't need to rent it if they're going to be selling it. So you can do either of these options, and now you have somebody that's going to go transaction after transaction after transaction. Okay? That's how you get to 100 grand a month in commissions. Now, I've mentioned a couple times now that it is harder to do all of this than the other things that I teach. So I'll give you a couple ideas. I have another video I highly recommend watching. It's how I did $2 million in one deal as a real estate agent. If you do one of those deals every 20 months, you just do the math, that's 100 grand a month, okay? 20 months is slightly more than a year and a half, okay? That is buying and selling the opportunity to do a development deal. What happens if you actually do the development deal and you take it all the way to the end? And I didn't talk about that in that video, but that is substantially more profit. What if, when you're doing this, you're also taking a percentage of the ownership, a percentage of every deal that you do with them, because you're managing it, right? You bring in your people, you have to have systems in place, you have to understand how to manage these people and keep it going, because your job is to be the face. Your job is to be the one that everybody interfaces with. All of the 120 people, they're the one, they want to call you. They don't want to call somebody that works for you. They want to call you. And so you're that face, but you need to have people under you that actually do things, okay? This is part of the systems that I teach. Now, you can get to 100 grand a month. The best possible way is a hybrid of multiple options where each step, each piece fits in together so that you can get as fast as you can to 100 grand a month. Commissions is only part of it, but for most real estate agents, it's all that they do. Now, I like using the analogy of lions and hunting field mice. A lion can hunt a field mouse. It's possible, but the calories that they get from the mouse does not justify the hunt. This is why 90% of real estate agents are gone in 5 years, 99% are gone in 10 years, because it's so much work to get such a small commission? And when you get into real estate, you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna get 50 a year, I'm gonna get 100 grand a month, I'm gonna do so well. And then the rubber hits the road and you see how much work it actually is and the deals that fall apart and all of these things. It's small. I broke down 2 million in one deal, okay? That's the bigger stuff. That's the main course. These commissions are just appetizers. But if you're determined and you say, okay, I only wanna do it through commissions, I just laid out how to do it, okay? If you're interested in getting to 100 grand a month through my coaching, I can teach you how to do that. Now I have to do a disclaimer. Some people are not gonna do it. In fact, most people probably aren't gonna do it. But I learned how to do these things and I learned how to apply these things, and I can teach you how to do the same. You just have to take action. But if you're interested in coaching, if you're interested in how you're gonna get to 100 grand a month in commissions, I have a link in the description to schedule a call. Get on the phone, talk to either me or one of my reps, depending on how far along we are in the process. Eventually, I'm not gonna be able to take these calls. But in the beginning, I am. So if this video just came out, you're probably gonna talk to me. Schedule a call, we'll find out more about you and your business, and we're gonna tailor how we're gonna get you to 100 grand a month through the 7 different methods that I teach. And based on your unique attributes, which one should you skew a little bit more towards? And which one is going to get you there the fastest, the easiest, the highest probability of success, the lowest probability of failure, easy wins, momentum building up. That's what we're gonna be talking about, is how we get you there. Schedule the call, we'll get on the phone and we'll talk about it. Now maybe you've only watched this video or you've only watched a couple of my videos and you wanna learn a little bit more about me and get more experience. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm gonna be dropping wisdom like I dropped today, over and over and over again on YouTube. If you know of a real estate agent that could benefit from this information, send it to them. It helps my channel, it helps me. If you feel like I've helped you and you're not ready to sign up for coaching, the best thing you can do to reciprocate is a referral. Refer me to another agent. That would be fantastic. That's one of the greatest gifts I can receive, is a referral. You know that as a real estate agent. It's one of the greatest gifts you can receive is a referral. So thank you for watching. If you're gonna schedule the call, make sure you click that link. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.